Welcome to the stories they didn't teach you in Sunday school. Ride. Fuck your life. It starts off with this guy who is supposed to help his dead brother by having kids with his wife, but he won't stop spilling his jizz on the ground. So she doesn't get pregnant, right? Oh, dude, this is in the fucking Bible. I'm sorry. What, we're not allowed to read the word of God? Touche that way. Back it up. After this, the woman actually ends up sleeping with her father-in-law in order to have a baby.
Of course. Right.
Only natural. And to also shame him.
Right. Makes sense.
Righteously speaking. You know?
Right on the money.
And then we get into Joseph, right? The most handsome Israelite that's ever lived. Mm-hmm. He's running away from women left and right. He can tell you what your dreams mean. He's got this thing for counting. He's fucking awesome.
Thing for counting?
Come, join us. Join us, won't you? Bring bong, bring Bible. Let us regale you with the Old Testament.
Did you say, why is that asshole always yelling at you?
No, he actually asked a bunch about you. He liked it. Yeah, it's good shit. Yeah, no, people are learning a lot from this shit. They've never read the Bible.
I've never read the Bible.
It's a weird thing. Like, you know, I've been dealing with it a lot too, because conversations with humans, with friends and families that believe in this, but, you know, they outsource the Bible to a guy that, you know, he dresses a certain way and he talks a certain way, and he's like, I'm going to live a holy life for you so you don't have to.
In my private plane.
Right. And then they like, you know, it's they remain, unfortunately, illiterate when it comes to the text. And since you've encouraged me, I've been dropping.
Holding your feet to the fire?
I've been more, it's like, I didn't realize that, you know, they can't quote the Bible, but I can, you know, so.
Fucking right, man. That's what, and yeah, that's fucking right. Like,
it's been great.
You have more history with it than they do.
Yeah, I've earned it, you know. We're on Genesis, right? And sometimes I speed ahead. I read through Exodus, but this will be my 10th time through the whole Genesis to Revelations. Yeah. So
that's crazy.
I mean, I know we're just at the beginning, but yeah.
We're not at the beginning of Genesis. You were saying we're almost done, right?
We're getting close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we going to leave you eating in all of this? Because we're starting the podcast.
No, I'm done.
Okay, cool.
No, we ready, go. Are you going to fucking eat the whole time we're doing this, Jeff? Because it sounds like dog shit, okay? Jesus Christ would not like you eating. I'm going to wither your ass if you take one more bite.
There's a lot of withering.
Are we coming up on withering?
We're coming up on plagues. We're coming up on more because we're almost through this. So I guess that's the next book. We're coming up on this guy named Joseph.
Yeah.
He has a coat. He has a show off Broadway that's fantastic.
It's been running for about 1,700 years.
It's great.
It's really, really phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's been reviewed quite well.
Quite well. Yeah. So that happens, and what it is this family Israel, who we've kind of met. This Jacob guy gets his name changed, right? His 12 sons, become the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is how they get to Egypt.
Abraham's
offspring
son with Sarah.
Mm-hmm. One of
is
them.
Jacob.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Who becomes Israel.
Right.
It's been
Jacob becomes Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And they still kind of use Jacob every once in a while too. God does. So I don't know what the meaning of that is.
It's like when you call your son by his real name instead of his nickname.
Okay, that was my vibe. Yeah.
When I call Coleman Cole, Coleman.
Yeah.
It's usually when you're pissed off at them.
Yeah.
That's
what I thought too.
Jacob. God, me, damn it, Jacob.
God, me, damn it.
Me. Yeah. And I had this. I was. Did you watch Randall Carlson on Joe Rogan?
No. Oh, that guy rules.
That guy rules.
That's the rock guy, right?
That's the no, he's a
geologist?
scientist. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's the guy about the meteor impacts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a flood to me, buddy. Sounds like a 40-day flood.
Yeah. 40 days? It would work for 40 days?
Yeah, it was a flash, like the melting of a meteor strike melted. Yeah, the stuff over in Moses Lake, Grand Coulee.
It's up in Washington State. Yeah.
Grand Coulee, Moses Coulee. There's all these, whatever. Anyway, it's just, I was listening to him like,
Really? Yeah, for people who don't know, there's these huge canyons that are just like the gorge out there. It's like there's these crazy rock formations in Washington that go all the way to Montana.
Yeah, and they happened in the course of like 10 days.
The fuck?
Yeah, like the water drilled out the rock, and there's like it's this massive. They're like 400 feet deep, 9 mile wide river of water.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, let's get to the fucking Bible.
Yeah.
So into it, man. Did I get you?
Yeah, you got. I mean, it's been a minute, right? You're on vacation. We're doing this shit. Look how committed we are. It's funny.
Oh, I tried to send you a file, and I couldn't send it to you no matter what I did.
Oh no, why not?
I don't know. I don't know if I didn't do it right. I did it on here, saved the file, and it just wouldn't send. I couldn't text it to you. I couldn't email it to you. Didn't want you to think I was slacking.
Oh, of like clips or something?
Yeah, I was reading that. Yeah, I read the divine beings, the Genesis 6 again.
Okay.
Like, fucking.
I've been bringing it up a lot to
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
How's it hitting you now?
What?
That verse. How is this divine beings thing hitting you right now?
It's that. Yeah, it's tough. I vacillate between it being pretty documentarialism, like, and more, or I don't know. It's so hard to like take it seriously. It's so hard to like take it for at face value. You know,
The Bible?
like there's yeah. Like there's lots of things in it that are like the flood, and then you find out that, again, I think where I land almost every time is that the Bible and religion, the Bible specifically and religion in general, was people's attempt to explain science.
I think
Like
that's pretty good.
What's that?
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, like, this flood that lasted 40 days and God came down. It's like, well, yeah, maybe God came down, or maybe they're just saying a meteor strike hit, vaporized all this water, killed, within 10% of all. One of these things they said killed. There's a classification of being, or of like trees, or I don't think it's just mammals, but it might be, but over 100 pounds, all but 10% of the mammals over 100 pounds died, or something. Don't quote me. It's on the. You can listen to the smart people. Thank you very much. I didn't ring my bell.
No, it's good. But so of course, there's going to be a story about that everywhere. Right?
Everywhere, right?
That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like even to move out from that a little bit, like there's how do you explain dreams? Back then,
right?
And how do you explain that when you ate that weird fucking wheat, you started seeing dead people like walking around?
Right? Yeah, totally. Or when you were clearing something, or I don't know, you're clearing something and burned the tree, and all of a sudden the smoke, and you're like,
You're like
interdimensional goblins are fucking sucking your earballs out, you know? It's like, how do you, oh, I saw God. He came down and talked to me.
right. Yeah. I through arguing with different Christians, you know, because I still have a lot of friends, family, and oh man, I gotta stop because thinking about those arguments just derailed me. So let me get back.
That's so funny. You're like, oh, damn it.
It's so rough, but you know, I used to be really like I went through a couple years of being a straight atheist, and like you know, I could rip someone's faith out their asshole because I could quote the Bible more than this. So I'd be really mean, unfortunately, and it was like, you know, I don't, you know, it doesn't happen very often. You don't need it to happen very often, but you have a psychedelic experience. Try to fucking explain that. Yeah. And so it really moved me back to this agnostic viewpoint.
Well, and the atheism was before you tried psychedelics.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Because it's like, how could you explain that experience? You know, and so like. And, you know, do you know who Friedrich Nietzsche is?
Heard of him?
Have you read any of his shit?
No.
No, yeah, dude, he's like the fucking, he's like the Billy Shakespeare of fucking philosophers. Like,
yeah,
it's like poetry. He's like so good at writing. But he's also, you know, he's got some pretty crazy shit he says. But like, he was saying this thing. I read this book this week, and it was essentially that Christianity is like religion for people who hate themselves.
Yeah, well, it makes sense.
Oh my God! Right? It was too rough. It was too like I had a hard time.
And by rough, you mean too
honest?
Accurate.
Yes.
You know, it's like so
exactly.
that's the thing. Is like you call a spade a spade.
And maybe it's just the outworking of organized religion throughout the years, but still, like, you know, there's a lot of self-loathing that happens in.
Yeah, there's also a lot of I have a get out of jail free card that happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Where you can, you know, and that's the other thing about the Bible. Well, okay, so first it's it's science. It's you know, people without science trying to explain supernatural,
like it,
and then it's also a guidebook on how to just, you know, screw it forward. Seems to be the, you know, just you can't screw over the guy directly ahead of you, but anybody who's like on your level or below, you can just fuck. Almost literally sometimes, you know. As long as you're not fucking God's henchman,
yeah,
it's okay.
You good. You good.
You know?
Yeah.
But as you know, and you can almost fuck God's chosen one.
Almost.
But anybody else, and no, because what's Jacob's stepdad father-in-law's name?
Laban.
Laban fucks Jacob for fucking 21 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and Laban
he still gets warned in a dream. You know,
and gets warned in a dream, but also then he's like, okay, I'm going to call the shots here. Here's how it's going to go. I fucked you for like, you know, 3 centuries of, you know, that relative time back then. And now I'm going to do this. I'm going to draw a line in the sand. We're each going to build a little tower and nobody crosses the line. Cool. It's like, what did Jacob ever do to him? Except, you know, do what God said
made
and go
him rich.
You know,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
is.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. And what?
No, and brought around spotted goats and stuff, I guess.
Yeah, there's always a hustle like that, you know. Abraham, well, even everyone's hustling out their wives.
Everyone, dude.
Everyone.
Property.
Like, the fuck. And yeah, it's been weird to read this in this format for me, you know.
Yeah.
Because like. One time you asked me why I read it so much. It's because, like, to me, the stories are so fucking complex. I don't understand them, right? So it's like you got to read them over and over again to kind of get a general idea of even what's going on, is what I feel. But then, you know, still, like, We're stumbling on shit that I've never even dealt with, you know.
Well, that's, part of me is like, I'm super thankful for how much time you spent with the document. I do think that at some point you can like miss the forest for the trees.
Right.
You can,
Yeah.
like I mean, looking for meaning when, if it turns out to be just that this is the best explanation they could come up with,
Right.
then you're kind of like searching for something that isn't, you can't find the answer because they didn't have the answer.
Yeah, you called it a fool's errand.
It's
That's what it is. Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, and like, yeah, I haven't been studying like I used to. I mean, I read it, like I listened to Genesis this week, but you're right. And I've been reading more Nietzsche, trying to fill in the philosophers I haven't gotten through yet. But it still has a lot of power, this document, and it's weird how, unfortunately, it seems to be by keeping it far, far away from the people and taking all the information in it and funneling it down to whatever you want to happen in your congregation and only talking about that.
Using it as a tool for your own devices.
And I guess that's what the Bible says to do from all the stories. So maybe they got it right. I don't know.
Yeah, use this thing to hustle. This is your hustle guide. Hustler's guide to hustling.
Oh, man. Oh, that's fucking rough. I got to take a hit now.
What chapter are we on?
I feel like we're on 37, right?
I don't know. Let's see what 36 was.
There's a bunch of genealogies. Yeah, 37.
Okay.
Yeah. Who wants to read?
So are you stoned?
Yeah, I'm pretty stoned.
Sons of Zaban. Yeah, I'll read then.
Okay, that sounds rad.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. 37. Vayashev. The podcast gets 100% bright. Now Jacob was settled in the land where his father had sojourned, the land of Canaan. This, then, is the line of Jacob. At 17 years of age, Joseph tended the flocks with his brother as a helper to the sons of his father's wives, Bilhah and Zilpah. And Joseph brought bad reports of them to their father. Now Israel loved Joseph best of all his sons, for he was the child of his old age, and he had made him an ornamented tunic.
Coat.
And when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of his brothers, they hated him, so that they could not speak a friendly word to him. Once Joseph had a dream, which he told to his brothers, and they hated him even more. He said to them, "Hear this dream which I have dreamed. There we were, binding sheaves in the field, when suddenly my sheaves stood up and remained upright. Then your sheaves gathered around and bowed low to my sheaf." His brothers answered, "Do you mean to reign over us? Do you mean to rule over us?" And they hated him even more for his talk about his dreams. He dreamed another dream and told it to his brothers, saying, "Look, I have had another dream. And this time the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me." And when he told this to his father and brothers, his father berated him. "What?" he said to him. "Is this dream you have dreamed? Are we to come, I and your mother and your brothers, and bow low to you to the ground?" So his brothers were wrought up at him, and his father kept the matter in mind. One time, when his brothers had gone to pasture their father's flock at Shechem, Israel said to Joseph, "Your brothers are pasturing at Shechem. Come, I will send you to them." He answered, "I am ready." And he said to him, "Go and see how your brothers are and how the flocks are faring, and bring me back word." So he sent him from the valley of Hebron, where when he reached Shechem, a man came upon him wandering in the fields. The man asked him, "What are you looking for?" When he reached Shechem, a man came upon him, wandering in the fields. The man asked him, "What are you looking for?" He answered, "I am looking for my brothers. Could you tell me where they are pasturing?" The man said, "They have gone from here, for I heard them say, 'Let us go to Dothan.'" So Joseph followed his brothers and found them at Dothan. They saw him from afar, and before he came close to them, they conspired to kill him. They said to one another, "Here comes that dreamer.
Oh, shit.
Come now, let us kill him and throw him into one of the pits, and we can say, 'A savage beast devoured him.' We shall see what comes of his dreams."
Fuck.
You got dreams, motherfucker? How about a nightmare? But when Reuben heard it, he tried to save him from them. He said, "Let us not take his life." And Reuben went on, "Shed no blood. Cast him into that pit out in the wilderness, but do not touch him yourselves," intending to save him from them and restore him to his father. When Joseph came up to his brothers, they stripped Joseph of his tunic and the ornamented tunic that he was wearing, and took him and cast him into the pit. The pit was empty. There was no water in it. Then they sat down to a meal. Looking up, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead, their camels bearing gum, balm, and laudanum to be taken to Egypt. Laudanum is opium.
Is it?
It's an opium derivative, yeah. That's the stuff that all the they use in all those all those movies. That's what they had in like the Wild West.
Huh.
The stuff that the people
Opium
would get hooked on it.
shit? Yeah.
It was a liquid they'd mix in water.
What?
Oh, tripped out my arm. Sorry. Yeah, laudanum. Anyway, to kill him. Wearing no water. Egypt. Then Judas said to his brothers, "What do we gain by killing our brother and covering up his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, but let us not do away with him ourselves. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh." His brothers agreed. When midnight traders passed by, they pulled Joseph out of the pit. They sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver to the Ishmaelites, who brought Joseph to Egypt. When Reuben returned to the pit and saw that Joseph was not in the pit, he rent his clothes. Returning to his brothers, he said, "The boy is gone. Now what am I to do?" Then they took Joseph's tunic, slaughtered a kid, and dipped the tunic in the blood. They had the ornamental tunic taken to their father and said, We found this. Please examine it. Is it your son's tunic or not?" He recognized it and said, "My son's tunic. A savage beast devoured him. Joseph was torn by a beast." Jacob rent his clothes, put sackcloth on his loins, and observed mourning for his son many days. Jacob rent his clothes, put sackcloth on. Oh, okay. All his sons and daughters sought to comfort him, and he refused to be comforted, saying, "No, I will go down mourning to my son in Sheol." Thus his father bewailed him. The Midianites, meanwhile, sold him in Egypt to Potiphar, a courtier of Pharaoh's, and his chief steward. About that time, Joseph left
so that's the next chapter.
Okay.
So
It's
a pretty cohesive story, huh?
Yeah. His
Like it
brothers
reads
hated.
a lot better than some of the stories we've read before, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, brothers hate him.
Brothers hate him.
He's a snitch.
He's a snitch?
Yeah, remember at the beginning, he's like, he was out in the flocks with them, and then he reported on them badly, you know?
Oh, is that? Oh, I
Yeah,
missed that.
right at the beginning. And then he's I can't, because I'm a little high, Rachel or Rebecca, whoever Jacob's favorite wife is that he worked forever for.
Right.
That Laban sneaked their
Rebecca.
daughter in on him. Yeah.
Oh, no, Rachel.
Yeah, Rachel. So, it's from her. It's Rachel's kid. So it's his favorite wife. It's his favorite kid.
It was the last one, too.
Yeah. Oh, I think maybe Benjamin is the last one from her. But you know what's weird? the weird part is like so they throw him in the pit, and then they sit down to eat.
And what is a pit exactly? Do they dig the pit, or do they have a pit?
Yeah, or it could have been like traps they could use to, because if you're a shepherd, you're dealing with like wild animals trying to eat your shit. So I'm sure they maybe had a trap set. So they're like, we can use this, or maybe it was a well because it mentions there's no water in it. Dried up well.
Right.
But so they see Ishmaelites, descendants of Ishmael. And then when they get to Egypt, it says Midianites or whatever. It's not Midianites. It just shut off. Like the Ishmaelites that sold him. Yeah, Midianites. The Midianites, meanwhile, sold him in Egypt to Potiphar. Right? So it's like, and I think it happens one more time. They get called a different name, the people that sold him. So like the people that are buying and selling Joseph, I don't know if they just don't know who it was, or
what the relation is, or why they keep crossing it.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been the Ishmaelites sold him to Midianites, and then the Midianites took him the rest of the way, or something. Maybe that would be something lost to us in this time. Maybe something they would just have been like, of course.
But those are definitely different groups of people.
Yep. Oh. Weird. But yeah, pretty straightforward story.
Yeah.
Should we keep going?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You want to do it or you want me?
I love reading this shit.
Yeah, dude, keep going.
When there's not so many names to butcher.
You're doing great, though. You're doing great.
It's hard when about the time Judah left his brothers. Now, which one was Judah? Judah was the one who didn't want to kill him.
It was not Benjamin. It was Reuben was the first guy.
Oh, right.
But yes, and here's the other thing to remember: each one of these men will become the leader of tribes that make up the nation of Israel. So, like, people from certain tribes have different, maybe they're herdsmen, maybe they're priests, right? Judah ends up being the capital where everything comes from. King David, King Solomon, all like the great men of yesteryear of the Israelites.
The men of renown?
Well, like these guys, they're talking about these guys. But
these guys are of that bloodline, right? Didn't we decide that who's the dad? Jacob was born to Sarah after God and after Biggie and Tupac showed up, right? Right? And she's the spawn of either Boogie or Tupac. She's not the spawn of God, but she's definitely the spawn. He's the spawn of one of those two fellas.
Yeah, I like it. You've convinced me pretty well about this. I like it.
So this whole this bloodline is all
divine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's divine. It's divine.
So
Nephilim, motherfucker.
And so they're going to build up certain characters, At the end, they give a blessing pretty later, and it'll be like, it's pretty fun. I'm not going to spoil it. Let's keep going.
Okay. All right. About that time, Judah left his brothers and camped near a certain Adulamite, whose name was Hirah. There Judah saw the daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua, and he married her and cohabitated with her. She conceived and bore a son, and he named him Er. She conceived again and bore a son and named him Onan. Once again she bore a son and named him Shelah. He was at Jezeb when she bore him. Judah got a wife for Er, his firstborn. Her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn, was displeasing to the Lord, and the Lord took his life. Then Judah said to Onan, "Join with your brother's wife and do your duty by her as a brother-in-law and provide offspring for your brother." But Onan, knowing that the seed would not count as his, let it go to waste whenever he joined his brother's wife, so as not to provide offspring for her brother. Let's unpack that for a second. Let it go to waste. I think that says he put it in her hair where it belonged. Have you seen the new Ali Wong special?
No, but it's fantastic.
Yeah, she talks about how she loves having her face cummed on. maybe she's the descendant of Onan.
I'm pretty sure he gets killed, so I don't think so.
Yeah,
because so there are laws back then, like if let's say this woman marries into a family, and that's a big deal. You're kind of this corporation. You're all got each other's backs. So if her husband dies, one of his brothers will provide her with kids, because children are very important to women.
Right, workers.
Yeah.
Well, and it's that, and so, but why don't it says that he won't get credit for it? It'll still.
The kids won't be his technically; they'll be his dead brothers. So
yeah, that's a weird one. And he wants to make sure he's fielding his team.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
He wants to have
he wants to have his own. And so I don't, maybe that
let
was...
it go to waste. How many times does that show up in the Bible?
Can you tell me the verse? I got Bible Hub blocking my face.
18, Genesis 38:9. But Onan, knowing that the seed would not count as his, let it go to waste. Onan was filthy.
Yeah, what if he just likes a good time, Like, what if he was just...
What if, what was her name?
Tamar.
Maybe Tamar's super hot and really just wants it right.
You know what I'm saying? What's wrong with that?
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. It's
what's wrong with
adults.
that? Yes. Have some fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a team player. That's all I'm saying.
Look, whatever you want.
Yeah, whatever you need, I'm here for.
I'm into. Super into.
On the ground, entered.
On the ground?
Admit it. No, what verse? What letter are we looking at?
38:9.
It's really hard.
38:9. Yeah.
Yeah, but what's the word?
Oh, the phrase is "let it go to waste," or I guess to waste.
10 then. Yeah. Because it doesn't have, these are different translations, so it doesn't have the same word.
We know what they're talking about.
Right, but he admitted it on the ground.
What?
He should give an heir to his brother.
We know what he meant. We know what they mean. There's
no, it's yeah. There's another there's another reference in Amos 1:11.
Nice.
Yeah, so we have two references to
jizz wasting. What he did was displeasing to the Lord, and he took his life also.
Yeah, oh boy gets fucking killed.
Let me just back that up, because the Lord does not like it when you let it go to waste,
dude. Can you?
But Onan, knowing that the seed would not count as his, let it go to waste whenever he joined with his brother's wife, so as not to provide an offspring for her. What he did was displeasing to the Lord, and the Lord fucked his shit up.
Kleenex is like a bastion of...
Right.
Can you imagine how many 14-year-old boys would be
going to hell? Not just going to hell, get smited.
Just lightning bolted. Fucking
a lightning bolt. Then Judah said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, "Stay as a widow in your father's house until my son Shelah grows up." For he thought he too might die like his brothers. So Tamar went to live in her father's house. A long time afterwards, Shua's daughter, the wife of Judah, died. When his period of mourning was over, Judah went up to Timnah to see his sheep shearers together with his friend Hira the Adullamite. And Tamar was told, "Your father-in-law is coming up to Timnah for the sheep shearing." So she took off her widow's garb, covered her face with a veil, and wrapping herself, sat down at the entrance to Enaim, which is on the road to Timnah, for she saw that Shelah was grown up, yet she had not been given to him as
wife.
None. I don't have wife on here, but yeah, as wife. When Judah saw her, he took her for a harlot, for she had a covered face. So he turned aside to her by the road and said, "Here, let me sleep with you." For he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. "What," she asked, "will you pay me for sleeping with me?" He replied, "I will send a kid from my flock." But she said, "You must leave a pledge until you have sent it." And he said, "What pledge shall I give you?" She replied, "Your seal and cord and the staff which you carry." So he gave them to her, slept with her, and she conceived by him. Then she went away. Then she went on her way. She took off her veil and again put on a widow's garb. Judah sent the kid by his friend the Adullamite to redeem the pledge from the woman, but he could not find her. He inquired of the people of that town, "Where is the cult prostitute, the one at Enim by the road?" But they said, "There has been no prostitute here." So he returned to Judah and said, "I could not find her. Moreover, the townspeople said, 'There has been no prostitute here.'" Judah said, "Let her keep them, lest we become a laughingstock. I did not send her this kid, but you did not find I did send her this kid, but you did not find her." About 3 months later, Judah was told, "Your daughter-in-law Tamar has played the harlot. In fact, she is with child by harlotry. Bring her out," said Judah, "and let her be burned." As she was being brought out, she sent this message to her father-in-law: "I am with child by the man to whom these belong." And she added, "Examine these whose seal and cord and staff are these."
Boom.
So, isn't it Judah?
Yeah. They're his.
About 3 months later, Judah was told, "Your daughter-in-law Tamar has played the harlot. In fact, she is with child by harlotry." Oh, he doesn't know it's from him, though.
No.
Okay, Judah recognized them and said, "She is more in the right than I, inasmuch as I did not give her to my son Shelah, and she was not intimate with her again, and he was not intimate with her again." When the time came for her to give birth, there were twins in her womb. While she was in labor, one of them put out his hand, and the midwife tied a crimson thread on the hand to signify, "This one came out first." But just then he drew back his hand, and out came his brother. And she said, "What a breach you have made for yourself." So he was named Perez. Afterward, his brother came out, on whose hand the crimson thread Afterward, his brother came out, on whose hand was the crimson thread. He was named Zerah.
So that's you don't hear this story too much in church or on Sundays.
So she Judah tries to get two of his sons to impregnate this Tamar.
Yeah.
And they both die.
Yes.
And so he sends her back to her father's house.
Yeah,
to mourn.
With a promise that when his youngest kid, who unaged, comes of age,
Shelah,
she can marry him.
And then but then he doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
Well, he's already lost two.
Right.
Yeah.
And so she realizes he's not going to, and traps him on the road.
Yes,
with
sir.
a good time. And so the last part, though, when it's like, she's still under his LLC, right? Like he's still responsible for her, right?
Yeah. She's kind of fucked, right? Because he won't
right.
do anything for her.
Right.
Yeah,
and so So when he hears she's pregnant from prostituting or from harlotry, whatever, he can have her burned because she's supposed to be
in the family.
She is in the family, and she's supposed to be mourning and whatever and waiting. But then he has her. She has his shit.
Yep.
And so he's like, she played me.
Yeah.
Played by the player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
And so he's like, no, I can't do anything. So you can live. That's the deal.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a in one way too, like in a time where women didn't mean much, there's a really cool story about a really smart fucking girl,
Right.
But it's it's just so crazy what it must have been like to live back then,
Yeah, for anybody, let alone a woman.
Let alone, yes, exactly. Badass bitch.
Yeah,
she's like, she thought that shit out. She went fucking Ocean's 8 on that shit.
Right, yeah.
Fistful of dollars shit,
Yeah. She did the presto changeo. Okay, should we keep going?
Yeah, it gets good.
Okay. 39. When Joseph was taken down to Egypt, a certain Egyptian, Potiphar, a courtier of Pharaoh, and his chief steward bought him from the Ishmaelites who had brought him there.
Okay, see, they're back to Ishmaelites.
All right. The Lord was with Joseph, and he was a successful man, and he stayed in the house of the Egyptian master. When his master saw the Lord was with him, and that the Lord lent success to everything he undertook, he took a liking to Joseph. Yeah, no shit. Hey, you're buddies with God. He made him his personal attendant and put him in charge of his household, placing in his hands all that he owned. And from the time that the Egyptian put him in charge of his household and all that he owned, the Lord blessed his house for Joseph's sake, so that the blessing of the Lord was upon everything he owned in the house and outside. He left all that he had in Joseph's hands, and with him there, he paid attention to nothing save the food that he ate. Now Joseph was well built and handsome. Yeah, boy.
Yeah, boy.
After a time, his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph and said, come, lie with me. But he refused. He said to his master's wife, look, with me here, my master gives no thought to anything in this house, and all that he owns he has placed in my hands. He wields no more authority in this house than I, and he has withheld nothing from me except yourself, since you are his wife. How then could I do this most wicked thing, sin before God? And much as she coaxed Joseph day after day after day, he did not yield to her request to lie beside her, to be with her.
So he's a good guy too.
Yeah, and she wants Joseph.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That Israelite D.
One such day, he came into the house to do his work. None of the household were being there inside. She caught hold of him by his garment and said, lay with me. But he left his garment in her hand and got away and fled outside. Oh, Jesus.
He's like really trying to be a good guy.
Yeah. When she saw that he had fled, when she saw that he had left it in her hands and had fled outside, she called out to her servants and said, look, he had to bring us a Hebrew to dally with us. This one came to lie with me, but I screamed loud. And when he heard me screaming at the top of my voice, he has left his garment with me and got away and fled outside. She kept his garment beside her until his master came home. She told him the same story, saying, the Hebrew slave whom you brought into our house came to me to dally with me. But when I screamed at the top of my voice, he left his garment with me and fled outside.
Fuck.
That sucks. When his master heard the story that his wife had told him, namely, thus and so your slave did to me, he was furious. Joseph's master had him put in prison, where the king's prisoner prisoners were confined. And even while he was there in prison, the Lord was with Joseph. He extended kindness to him and disposed the chief jailer favorably toward him. The chief jailer put in Joseph's charge all the prisoners who were in that prison, and he was the one to carry out everything that was done there. The chief jailer did not supervise anything that was in Joseph's charge because the Lord was with him, and whatever he did, the Lord made successful.
Damn. There's a lot. Poor guy. Yeah. Poor Joseph, man. Right? Like, first he gets fucking ratted out by your brothers. Well, you know, and I get it.
Joseph,
like,
but how bad is it? Because everywhere he goes, things turn up roses for him.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have my own opinions on that, but I always do that too much on the show, so I'm trying to stop. You know?
What, you got another show you're going to do it on? Come on, let's hear it.
Well, like, and I can't jump too far ahead, but there's all this stuff that happens these human beings can't control in all these stories, and it seems to me like that the writer is like God is behind everything, orchestrating everything. So yeah, it looks like bad luck to you. It looks like being sold into slavery to you, but it's really for a better purpose, for a larger picture thing, you know?
Right.
And that comes about pretty soon for this guy. But, you know,
he's already down with the Pharaoh's right-hand man. I mean, that's big. Better than where he was with, you know, that's legit government work.
Pretty big. Yeah. You know, you got food, you know, and these people, the Egyptians, not super stoked on the Israelites.
Right.
They don't even eat dinner with them.
Right.
You know, they won't eat food with them because they're like, they don't like people who work with cattle and shepherds. They're gross, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and you know,
they got shit under their nails.
They're tough too.
Yeah.
Tough motherfuckers. Like, yeah. Well, let's see what happens next because it's pretty fucking cool.
See what happens next. Sometime later, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt gave offense to their lord, the king of Egypt. Pharaoh was angry with his two courtiers, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and put them in custody in the house of the chief steward in the same prison house where Joseph was confined. The chief steward assigned Joseph to them, and he attended them. When they had been in custody for some time, both of them, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were confined in the prison, dreamed in the same night, each his own dream, and each dream with its own meaning. When Joseph came to them in the morning, he saw that they were distraught. He asked Pharaoh's courtiers who were with him in custody in his master's house, saying, "Why do you appear downcast today?" And they said to him, "We had dreams. There is no one to interpret them." So Joseph said to them, "Surely God can interpret them. Tell me your dreams." Then the chief cupbearer told Joseph his dreams to Joseph. He said to them, "In my dream, there was a vine in front of me. On the vine were 3 branches. It had barely budded when out came its blossoms, and its clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand." Joseph said to him, "This is its interpretation. The 3 branches are 3 days. In 3 days, Pharaoh will pardon you and restore you to your post. You will place Pharaoh's cup in his hand, as was your custom formerly when you were his cupbearer. But think of me when all is well, with you again, and do me the kindness of mentioning me to Pharaoh, so as to free me from this place. For in truth I was kidnapped from the land of the Hebrews, nor have I done anything there that they should have put me in the dungeon." When the chief baker saw how favorably he had interpreted, he said to Joseph, "In my dreams, similarly, there were 3 open work baskets on my head. In the uppermost basket were all kinds of food for Pharaoh that a baker prepares, and the birds were eating it out of the basket above my head." Joseph answered, "This is its interpretation. The 3 baskets are 3 days. In 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head and impale you upon a pole, and the birds will pick off your flesh. On his third day, on the third day, his birthday, Pharaoh made a banquet for all of his officials, and he singled out his chief cupbearer and his chief baker from among his officials. He restored the chief cupbearer to his cupbearing, and he placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. But the chief baker he impaled, but the chief baker he impaled, just as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet the chief cupbearer did not think of Joseph. He forgot him. Sucks.
Poor old, good old Joseph.
Yeah.
This story keeps getting better and better, but like, isn't it weird that like, I've always kind of noticed that when you get to this Joseph story, that it like reads better, you know, like
as a real story.
Yeah.
Like as a succinct, an intact,
cohesive going. You know, you're following it, right? There's all these weird shit that just gets thrown out all the time in every story before this,
right?
Including obviously the creation ones being the biggest. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But yeah, it like reads better. So I don't. It's they must have gotten better at writing. That's what I'm assuming by this point.
Well, or they just started doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
And that's that same thing. It's like, how are you supposed to know? I mean, you're saying that we can trace back to this guy?
Mm-hmm.
This guy's a real dude? This guy,
yeah, Abraham and his lineage.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's
I mean, these stories might not be real.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like, it's
I don't know that.
The people who are putting this together.
Yeah.
They really want to. I mean, this is it's like a pop piece. They're really pushing the Joseph had God's ear, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're really,
he's the dude.
It's foundationally, they're, fuck, my brain is addled. They are, it's foundational, right? They're like building, they're setting the stage.
Yeah.
Like, and they're laying it on super thick.
Yep.
So it's like, if it's this succinct and this focused, it's probably a bunch of bullshit. It's like, it's like, dude, I can tell it's raining. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to,
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, when someone's like lying and overdoing it, and you're like, okay. Exactly. So Michael Jackson didn't stop at my house to use my bathroom.
Right.
That's from the Goonies.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, so you want to keep going? It gets rad.
But the chief baker, oh wait, no. Yet the chief cupbearer did not think of Joseph. He forgot him. After 2 years' time, Pharaoh dreamed that he was standing by the Nile. When out of the Nile, there came up 7 cows, handsome and sturdy, and they grazed in the reed grass. But presently, 7 other cows came up from the Nile, close behind them, ugly and gaunt, and stood beside the cows on the bank of the Nile. And the ugly, gaunt cows ate up the 7 handsome, sturdy cows, and Pharaoh awoke. He fell asleep and dreamed a second time. 7 ears of grain, solid and healthy, grew on a single stalk. But close behind them sprouted 7 ears, thin and scorched by the east wind. And the thin ears swallowed up the 7 solid and full ears. Then Pharaoh awoke. It was a dream. Next morning his spirit was agitated, and he sent for all the magicians of Egypt and all its wise men. And Pharaoh told them his dream, but none could interpret them for the Pharaoh. The chief cupbearer then spoke up and said to Pharaoh, I must make mention today of my offenses. Once Pharaoh was angry with his servant and placed me in custody in the house of the chief steward, together with the chief baker. We had dreams the same night, he and I, each of us a dream with a meaning of its own. A Hebrew youth was there with us, a servant of the chief steward, and when we told him our dreams, he interpreted them for us, telling each the meaning of his dream. As he interpreted for us, so it came to pass. I was restored to my post, and the other was impaled. Thereupon Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and he was rushed from the dungeon. He had his hair cut and changed his clothes, and he appeared before Pharaoh. Fuck yeah. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I have had a dream, but no one can interpret it. Now I have heard it said of you that for you to hear a dream is to tell its meaning. Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, not I, God will see to Pharaoh's welfare.
Pointing up.
What's that?
Pointing up.
All glory, baby.
All glory.
Yeah. Yeah. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, in my dream, I was standing on the bank of the Nile, when out of the Nile came up 7 sturdy and well-formed cows and grazed in the reed grass. Presently there followed them 7 other cows, scrawny, ill-formed, and emaciated. Never had I seen their likes for ugliness in all the land of Egypt. And the 7 lean and ugly cows ate up the first 7 cows. Lean and ugly cows ate up the first 7 cows, the sturdy ones.
I see like evil, like Tim Burton looking,
cows,
like just demon look, you know, yeah.
But when they had consumed them, one could not tell that they had consumed them, for they looked just as bad as before they ate before. And I awoke. In my other dream, I saw 7 ears of grain, full and healthy, growing on a single stalk. But right behind them sprouted 7 ears, shriveled thin, scorched by the east wind. And the thin ears swallowed the 7 healthy ears. I have told my magicians, but none has an explanation for me. And Joseph said to Pharaoh, Pharaoh's dreams are one and the same. God has told Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 healthy cows are 7 years, and 7 healthy ears are 7 years. It is the same dream. The 7 lean and ugly cows that followed are 7 years, and are also the 7 empty cows, 7 empty ears scorched by the east wind. They are 7 years of famine. It is just as I have told Pharaoh. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. Immediately ahead are 7 years of great abundance in all the land of Egypt, and after them will come 7 years of famine, and all the abundance in the land of Egypt will be forgotten, as the land is ravaged by famine. No trace of the abundance will be left in the land because of the famine thereafter, for it will be very severe.
Shit.
Nice. As for Pharaoh, having had the dream twice, it means that the matter has been determined by God, and that God will soon carry it out. Accordingly, let Pharaoh find a man of discernment and wisdom, and set him over the land
wink,
of Egypt.
Wink.
All right.
Gotta shoot your shot.
Yeah, right. And let Pharaoh take steps to appoint overseers over the land and organize the land of Egypt in the 7 years of plenty. Let all the food of these good years that are coming be gathered, and let the grain be collected under Pharaoh's authority as food to be stored in the cities. Let the food be a reserve for the land for the 7 years of famine which will come upon the land of Egypt, so that the land may not perish in the famine. The plan pleased Pharaoh and all his courtiers. And Pharaoh said to his courtiers, could we find another like him? A man in whom is the Spirit of God, in whom is the Spirit of God. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has made all this known to you, there is none so discerning and wise as you. You shall be in charge of my court, and by your command shall all my people be directed. Only with respect to the throne shall I be superior to you.
Jesus Christ.
Baller! Boom!
Boom. He's basically a pharaoh.
And removing his signet ring from his hand, Pharaoh put it on Joseph's hand. And he had him dressed in robes of fine linen and put a gold chain around his motherfucking neck.
Better recognize, bitches.
Pimp recognize pimp.
Dude.
He had him ride in the chariot of his second in command, and they cried before him, Abrek! Thus he placed him over all the land of Egypt. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I am Pharaoh, yet without you, no one shall lift up. I am Pharaoh, yet without you, no one shall lift up hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. Pharaoh then gave Joseph the name Zaphenath-Paneah. And he gave him for a wife Asenath, daughter of Potiphera, priest of On. Thus Joseph emerged in charge of the land of Egypt. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, leaving Pharaoh's presence. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Leaving Pharaoh's presence, Joseph traveled through all of the land of Egypt. During the 7 years, is that it? Or is that, we keep going?
We keep going. Is that the next chapter?
No, not yet.
Okay, keep going.
During the 7 years of plenty, the land produced in abundance, and he gathered all the grain of the 7 years, and the land of Egypt was enjoying, and stored the grain in the cities. He put in each city the grain of, I don't have a word for that. I don't have the last word there.
I don't either, because my iPad's done.
So Joseph collected produce in very large quantities, like the sand of the sea, until he ceased to measure it, for it could not be measured. Before the years of famine, Joseph became the father of 2 sons, whom Asenath, daughter of Potiphera, priest of On, bore to him. Joseph named the firstborn Manasseh, meaning God has made me forget completely my hardship and my parental home. That's really what that means? Wow. All that in one little word, huh? What a shitty name. And the second he named Ephraim, meaning God has made me fertile in the land of my affliction. The 7 years of abundance that the land of Egypt enjoyed came to an end, and the 7 years of famine set in, just as Joseph had foretold. There was famine in all the lands, but throughout the land of Egypt there was bread. And when all the land of Egypt felt the hunger, the people cried out to Pharaoh for bread, and Pharaoh said to all of the Egyptians, Go to Joseph, whatever he tells you, you shall do. Accordingly, when the famine became severe in the land of Egypt, Joseph laid open all that was within and rationed out grain to the Egyptians. The famine, however, spread over the whole world. So all the world came to Joseph in Egypt to procure rations for the famine, for the famine had become severe throughout the world.
Yeah, so this story starts getting rad, so we should recap all this we just read, because I think we can finish it. But, it was hard times.
Yeah.
Joseph was feeling it there for a while, right?
Yeah.
And I guess it was all for a pretty big reason. Obviously, now he's literally, like Pharaoh's golfing, and he's doing everything.
Yeah.
Pharaoh's out with his hair
He's Dick Cheney to George W. Bush.
And he's 30, and he's handsome as shit, and he's,
he's got an heir and a spare.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so an heir and a spare.
He's crushing it. He's absolutely crushing
it. Yeah. Yeah, so again, the stories read pretty cohesively now, right? So it's like,
yeah.
So it's
and again, see, the second it's understandable, I cry foul. Right. You know what I mean? The second it's like, okay, well, this is stuff that I don't know, whatever. I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm just like,
yeah, this is a script.
This is a
screenplay.
It's totally, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it makes sense. It comes from these people. Yeah. So these are the heroes of the people that, It's George Washington. It's Thomas Jefferson. You know, it's like of the Israelites. You know?
Yeah, totally. Slaveholders. Right. Exactly.
Unfortunately,
Slaveholders
all
alike.
of them.
Yeah, all
Very
right.
much so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's that. I want to not be so skeptical.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but the first parts where it's just like, and did you notice in that one part when God was using a it pronoun?
In what part? Do you
Joseph was using an it pronoun for God when he was talking to
Pharaoh?
the cupbearer and like when he was interpreting their dreams, he would he used the it. It is. Oh no, yeah, that was 40. Yeah, so 40. The cup chief. This is its interpretation.
But
he's
talking
about
the dream? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. But I don't know. When it's this much of a story, when there's no
real cohesive.
There's no mystery going on here. This is like a narrative. That's what I get. I think that's the word I'm looking for. It's like I'm not buying what they're selling, I can't. I'm just not. Whatever.
Well, and we're nearing the end of this book, right? And so what happens is this wraps up with this family that is about to become this entire nation because God promised them, because their dad was divine, chosen. They get to Egypt and then they start killing it in Egypt too. So they get so big that they start killing all the babies. And that's we meet this guy named Moses. Yeah, and then those stories are like fucking. It's like Mel Gibson. Like you could see it. Like you're like,
it's literally been Mel Gibson actually, right?
Yeah, I think so. No, Charlton Heston shit, right?
Right. Totally.
Yeah. So good. It gets weird with this, but the stories are fun. So at least we'll have a good time.
Yeah, for sure.
And I did say we were going to go into Revelations, but we're not. We're just going to do Exodus.
Okay.
Because it's just the stories just flow, and we should just finish them. So
okay,
dude, this is a fucking good time, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like, I'm just like, I also want to know why, like, so this is like one of the other thing that bugs me is that God is with Jacob, but they're not hanging out. Like, so the wormhole closed. And now he's just interdimensionally with Jacob. He can
Dreams.
It's the or like the gift.
Like he's successful at everything, and he seems to be able to accurately interpret people's dreams.
Yeah.
Handsome.
Good.
Chosen.
Yeah. But it so when did the wormhole close? Because we haven't. I mean. Do we have any more appearances, or is God gone?
There's a burning bush coming up.
Not the same thing.
Yeah, well, God will talk to his chosen. He'll meet with them on a mountaintop.
God shows up. He shows up.
Mm-hmm. He writes the 10 Commandments with his hand.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
that's a baller move. That's probably how. You got to figure whatever he does with that thing. That's probably how the pyramids were built.
It's after he kills all the babies, though.
After God kills all the babies?
God kills a lot of babies. Yeah.
It seems very, very divine thing to do.
For a people trying to, like you said at the beginning, explain science, and like where did this all start out? These wonderments, and like I do hold. Anyone can believe anything they want about these stories. I respect anyone's opinion on, or that they get to have that. Totally sure, but like, I do think it's fucking. They're trying to explain why did that infant die? Why did that harvest not come in? Why did that fucking lightning bolt just strike Hezekiah out there in the fucking field?
Yeah.
He was jerking off too much. Don't spill that semen on the ground.
Dead. Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. And then they make a religion out of it. You build it into the religion where it's like, no, dude, you're just fucking wrong place at the wrong time. Jerking off.
Well, I'm like, yeah, I could expound on that, but I think I've been reading too much Nietzsche too, because it's all negative, But
it's just honest. It's not necessarily negative.
I think he's pretty brilliant. This religion is the most successful pretty much ever. I mean, there's obviously some other huge ones, almost are pretty much as successful, or are as successful, excuse me.
I mean, John Travolta would beg to differ.
But, why it has had this book, the different opinions of it has had such staying power. Like,
yeah,
it is, it's still a huge
draw
part of culture. Yeah. And
it's got a huge draw.
Yeah. Well, everyone feels bad about themselves. So maybe this is the first religion that attaches to that,
Sure.
There's you got to work, you got to learn to love yourself. You got to, like life's hard, right? And so like, when you're 13 or 12 or whatever it happens to you, 14, and you start feeling really alone. And like, you're growing up, and I'm going to edit that part out because I'm just too high, because we already ended it really well. So why do I have to fucking wax and wane?
All right. Well, I just got a text from my nephew who just woke up. I'm up. Where are y'all? So I gotta bounce out of here.
That's cool, man. Have fun. So are we on for Thursday?
Let's try Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to be working out at that farm. So
okay.
Yeah. All right, dude. Well, that was rad. Thank you for reading.
Of course.
That was perfect. I'm going to go fucking shower.
You too. All right. Love you.
Love you too, buddy. Bye. Say hi to everyone.
Thank you. Everyone around the world, thank you. We love you. We love you. We're going to keep doing this. 66 books in this bitch. So we got a while. Smooches.